Questions. Let me start with a simple question. Have you ever noticed that sometimes life doesn't move forward? Not because you are lazy, not because you lack talent, but because of the people around you. Questions. Yes, you can be a Ferrari, but if you keep putting diesel instead of petrol, don't blame the engine. Today, I don't want to motivate you. I want to protect you. Because motivation builds you. Questions, but association decides your destiny. In the next few minutes, I will share 5 types of people. Not evil people, not bad people, but people who can silently destroy your growth, your peace, questions, and your purpose. If you recognize even one name, don't look at them, look within and choose wisely. You meet them and within 30 seconds, the weather is bad, the government is bad, the boss is bad. Questions. The system is bad, even the tea is bad. Once a man told his guru, everyone around me is negative. The guru smiled and said, questions. Maybe you are the dustbin and they are just unloading. Complaining is addictive. The more you complain, the more powerless you feel. These people don't want solutions. They want sympathy. Questions. Remember this, a problem discussed without action becomes gossip. If you sit with complainers long enough, you will start believing that success is impossible. Stay away. Not with anger, questions, but with awareness. You say, I want to start something new. They say, be practical. You say, I want to improve my life. They say, questions. Who are you to do that? Let me tell you a secret. Dream killers are usually people who gave up on their own dreams. They are not bad people, they are wounded people. Questions. Crabs in a bucket. When one crab tries to climb, others pull it down. Why? Because misery loves company. Protect your dreams. Share them only with those who water them, not those who burn. Questions. These people don't hit you. They don't insult you. They don't fight you. They just drain you. You meet them full of energy. You leave feeling tired, confused, heavy. They are always in crisis. Questions. Always in drama. Always emotionally dependent. Compassion is good. But remember, you are not a rehabilitation center. If helping someone costs you your mental peace. Questions. It's no longer help, it's self-destruction. Protect your energy. Your energy is your currency. Spend it wisely. They clap in front of you, but criticize behind you. They smile on your face. Questions, but compete in their heart. They say, I'm happy for you, but secretly pray you fail. Just a little. Once a monk said, not everyone who smiles is your well-wisher. Questions. Some people don't want you to succeed. They just want you to not succeed more than them. Real supporters correct you privately and praise you publicly. Fake supporters do the opposite. Questions. Learn the difference. It will save you years of pain. This one is dangerous because they are nice, they say. Relax. Questions, bro. Well, skip today. Do it tomorrow. Life is chill, but comfort feels good today but kills tomorrow. They don't push you. They don't challenge you. They don't grow. Questions. And if you stay too long, neither will you. Growth is uncomfortable. Comfort is addictive. Choose friends who stretch you, not those who sedate you. Questions. Realization. A pause moment. Let me say something uncomfortable, but true sometimes. The person you need to stay away from is the old version of yourself. Questions. The habits you refuse to leave, the excuses you protect, the fears you justify. Change your circle and if needed, change your seat at the table of life. Questions. Association shapes destiny. This is not a motivational quote. This is a daily life reality. You don't become who you want by only thinking right. Questions. You become who you want by living around the right people. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence, talent, or hard work. They fail quietly, slowly, without realizing it. Questions. Because they stay surrounded by people who pull them backward while smiling at them. Think about this when you sit with people who talk only about problems. Questions. After some time, your mind starts seeing problems everywhere. When you sit with people who talk about possibilities, Suddenly solutions appear where you once saw walls. Nothing magical happens, questions, no miracle occurs. The only thing that changes is association, and that changes everything. In daily life, we often underestimate this. We say, I am strong. Questions. I won't get influenced, but let me ask you honestly. If you sit in a room where everyone is angry, negative, and frustrated, how long can you remain peaceful? A day, a week, eventually questions. Something seeps in. Human beings are emotional sponges. We absorb moods, habits, beliefs, and even limitations from the people we spend time with. Look at a simple example. Questions. If you spend time with people who wake up late, complain about Mondays, hate their work, and wait only for weekends, slowly, unknowingly, your enthusiasm for life reduces. Questions. You start feeling tired even before the day begins. On the other hand, spend time with people who wake up with purpose, talk about improvement, share ideas, and take responsibility for their lives. Questions. Without anyone teaching you directly, your mindset starts upgrading. That's the power of association. A student preparing for exams sits with two different groups. One group studies seriously, questions, discusses concepts, and motivates each other. The other group scrolls reels, gossips, and says, marks don't matter, bro. Both students may be equally intelligent, but after a few months, questions, their results will be worlds apart. Why? Same book, same syllabus, but different association, different destiny. Association doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't force you. Questions. It slowly convinces you. That's why it's dangerous. You don't realize when your standards drop. You don't realize when your dreams become jokes. Questions. You don't realize when your excuses start sounding logical. And by the time you realize it, years have passed. There is a reason why successful people are very selective about their company. Questions. Not because they are arrogant, but because they are aware. They know that every conversation is either adding fuel to their future or pouring water on it. Questions. Even silence shared with the wrong people can be noisy inside your head. Think about health. If you live with people who eat junk daily and avoid exercise, your discipline becomes harder. Questions. But if your surroundings value fitness, suddenly healthy habits feel normal. The environment changes behavior faster than motivation ever will. Motivation is like a spark, association is like oxygen. Questions. Sometimes people say, but they are my old friends. Age of friendship does not guarantee quality of influence. Questions. You can love someone and still accept that their mindset no longer aligns with your growth. Outgrowing people is not betrayal, it is evolution. Just like a child outgrows toys. Questions. A growing mind outgrows certain conversations. Association also affects self-belief. When people around you believe in growth, they reflect possibilities back to you. Questions. When people around you are fearful, they project their fears onto you. Suddenly, risks feel dangerous, dreams feel unrealistic, and change feels unnecessary. Questions. Not because it is, but because your environment trained your mind that way. There is a beautiful saying, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Questions. And one of the strongest systems in life is people. They influence how you speak, how you think, how you react, and even how you dream. Your destiny is shaped not just by big decisions, questions, but by small daily conversations. Pay attention how you feel after meeting certain people. Do you feel inspired, calm, hopeful? Or do you feel drained, doubtful, and heavy? Questions. Your emotions are signals. Life is constantly giving you feedback. Most of us just ignore it. Association doesn't mean you cut off everyone overnight. Questions. It means you consciously choose who gets access to your time, your thoughts, and your energy. Because time spent with the wrong people is not neutral. It is expensive. It costs you clarity. Questions. It costs you courage. It costs you years. If you truly want your life to change, don't start by changing everything. Start by changing who you sit with, who you listen to. Questions. and who you allow to influence your thinking. Slowly, silently, your direction will change. And one day you will look back and realize nothing magical happened. You just chose better association. Questions and destiny follow. Questions. Complaining kills confidence, not suddenly, not loudly, but slowly, like a silent leak in a strong wall. You don't even realize when it starts happening. At first, it feels harmless. You think, questions, I'm just sharing my frustration. But over time, those words you speak every day begin to shape the way you see yourself, your life, and your future. Think about daily life. Questions. Imagine a person who wakes up in the morning and the first sentence they say is, another bad day. Before the day has even begun, they have already decided the outcome. The traffic is bad. Questions. The boss is unfair, the salary is low, the family doesn't understand, the system is against them. Slowly, the mind starts believing one dangerous lead. Questions. Nothing is in my control. And the moment you believe that, your confidence begins to die. Complaining gives temporary relief, like scratching an itch. It feels good for a moment. Questions. But it never solves the problem. In fact, it makes the problem stronger. The more you complain about your situation, questions, the more your brain gets trained to look for what's wrong instead of what's possible. Over time, this habit weakens your inner voice. You stop trusting yourself. You stop taking initiative. Questions. You stop trying. Look at workplaces. Two people do the same job. One keeps saying, this company doesn't value me. The other says, questions, I will improve my skills so I become valuable anywhere. Same environment, different mindset. One keeps complaining and waits to be noticed. The other grows quietly and creates options. Questions. Where's who builds confidence? Confidence is not built by perfect conditions. It is built by taking responsibility even in imperfect conditions. Complaining also affects how others see you. Questions. People may listen initially out of politeness or sympathy, but after some time, they stop taking you seriously. They start seeing you as someone who talks a lot but does little. Questions. This silently damages your self-image. When people don't expect much from you, you eventually stop expecting much from yourself. There is another danger. Complaining slowly turns into identity. Questions. You are no longer someone facing problems. You become someone who is always a victim. And a victim mindset cannot coexist with confidence. Confidence says, I can handle this. Complaining says, questions. Why is this happening to me? One gives power, the other takes it away. In families, we see this often. Parents complain about children. Children complain about parents. Questions. They never understand me, pa. They never listen. Slowly, communication turns into accusation. Instead of finding solutions, everyone starts protecting their ego. Questions. Confidence in relationships disappears, replaced by insecurity and resentment. Even about ourselves, we complain. Questions. I am not good enough. I am unlucky. I always mess things up. These may sound like harmless thoughts, but repeated daily, they become beliefs. And beliefs decide behavior. Questions. If you believe you are unlucky, you stop putting in full effort. If you believe you always fail, you stop trying new things. This is how complaining turns into self-sabotage. There is a simple test. Questions. Notice your language for one day. How many times do you say, this is too hard, I can't, it's not fair, this always happens to me? Questions. These words don't just describe reality, they create it. Your brain listens to everything you say. It doesn't know the difference between truth and repetition. Strong people feel pain too. Questions. They face injustice too. The difference is, they don't camp there. They may acknowledge the problem, but they don't build a house around it. They ask questions. What can I do now? That one question shifts the mind from helplessness to power. Complaining also spreads. It's contagious. Sit with a group of complainers, questions, and soon you'll find yourself complaining even if your life was fine. And the worst part, Complaining feels like bonding. People connect over shared frustration, but that bond is weak. Questions. It keeps everyone stuck at the same level. Confidence grows when you replace complaining with clarity. Instead of saying, my job is bad, say, what skill can I build? Instead of saying questions, I don't have time, say, what am I prioritizing? This shift doesn't change the situation immediately, but it changes you. And that changes everything. Life will never be perfect. Questions. There will always be something to complain about. But the quality of your life depends on what you focus on repeatedly. Complaining trains your mind to feel small. Questions. Responsibility trains your mind to feel capable. The day you reduce complaining, you'll notice something beautiful. Your words become calmer. Your decisions become stronger. Questions. Your confidence slowly returns. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. And remember this, you don't need to shout confidence to the world. When complaining stops, questions, confidence speaks quietly through your actions. Questions. Dream killers rarely look like villains. They don't come with anger or hatred. Most of the time, they come wrapped in concern, experience, and good advice. They say things like questions. I'm saying this for your own good, or I don't want you to get hurt. And because their words sound practical, we lower our guard. That is how dreams quietly begin to shrink. Questions. In daily life, whenever someone shares a new idea or ambition, notice the immediate reactions around them. One person asks, how will you do it? Another asks questions. Why do you want to do it? And then there is always someone who says, this won't work. That third response rarely comes from analysis. Questions. It comes from memory. The memory of their own failed attempts, missed chances, or fear of trying again. A dream killer is often someone who once dreamed big but stopped midway. Questions. Instead of healing that disappointment, they normalize it. When they see you dreaming, it reminds them of what they didn't finish. So unconsciously, questions. They try to protect their comfort by pulling your ambition down to their level. If you don't rise, they don't have to feel regret. Think of a common example. Questions. A student who wants to pursue something unconventional, art, entrepreneurship, content creation. Immediately someone says, very risky. But when asked why, the answer is vague. Questions. People don't succeed in that. What they really mean is, I don't know anyone who succeeded, or worse. Questions. I didn't succeed when I tried something different. Our dream killers project their fear as wisdom. They confuse safety with success. They don't ask, what if it works? They ask questions. What if it fails? And by repeatedly hearing that question, your confidence starts negotiating with your fear. In families, this happens a lot. Questions. Parents who struggled financially may discourage their children from exploring new paths. Their intention is love, but their advice is shaped by pain. They don't want you to suffer like they did. Questions. So they try to keep you within familiar boundaries. But safety and growth rarely sit at the same table. At workplaces, dream killers come in another form. Questions. A colleague sees your potential and instead of encouraging you, says, don't stand out too much. Or, just do what's required. Why? Because your growth highlights their stagnation. Questions. Your ambition exposes their comfort. The most dangerous dream killers are not loud, they are subtle. They don't directly say, you can't. They say questions, maybe later da. No is not the right time. First settle down, slowly. Later becomes never. And dreams get postponed into silence. Questions. What hurts the most is when dream killers are close to us. Friends, relatives, people whose opinions matter. That's why their words cut deeper. A stranger doubting you is easy to ignore. Questions. A loved one doubting you plants confusion. And confusion is the enemy of courage. But here is the truth we often forget. No one can see your dream the way you see it. It was given to you, not to the questions. They cannot feel the fire inside you, only the risk outside you. Expecting everyone to understand your vision is unrealistic and unfair to yourself. Dream killers are not always malicious. Questions. Many are simply afraid of uncertainty. They prefer predictable discomfort over unfamiliar possibility. They don't trust growth because growth demands faith, patience, and failure. Look at history. Questions. Look at daily success stories. Every person who achieved something meaningful was first misunderstood. If they had listened to every doubter, nothing new would exist. Innovation, change, questions, and progress come from people who are willing to look unreasonable for some time. The moment you realize that dream killers reflect their own unfinished journeys, their words lose power over you. Questions. You stop arguing. You stop explaining. You simply listen, smile, and continue, not out of ego, but out of clarity. Protect your dreams like a seed. Questions. You don't dig it out every day to check if it's growing. You give it soil, water, and time. Share your dreams only with those who encourage growth. Questions. Not those who measure everything with their past failures. And remember this deeply, people who are truly happy with their lives rarely try to limit yours. Questions. Those who have made peace with their choices don't feel threatened by your ambition. It is always the unfulfilled who feel uncomfortable around dreams. So, when someone tries to shrink your vision, questions, pause and ask yourself, are they speaking from experience or from fear, from wisdom or from wounds? That awareness alone can save your dream from being buried under someone else's disappointment. Questions. Your dream doesn't need everyone's approval. It only needs your courage, your consistency, and your faith. Let dream killers talk. You keep walking. Questions. Most people say, I don't have time. Very few people say, I don't have energy. But if you look closely at life, time is not the biggest problem. Energy is. Questions. You may have the same 24 hours as everyone else, but if your energy is constantly drained, those hours feel heavy, slow, and unproductive. Energy is what decides how you show up in those hours. Questions. Think about this from daily life. You come home after a long day. The clock says you still have 2 hours free, but inside you feel exhausted, not physically, but mentally and emotionally. Questions. Now ask yourself honestly, did the work drain you? Or did the people, conversations, stress, and unnecessary emotional load drain you? Most of the time, it's the second one. Energy is invisible, questions, but its impact is very real. When your energy is high, even difficult work feels manageable. When your energy is low, even small tasks feel impossible. Questions. That's why two people can work the same number of hours, yet one grows and the other burns out. We often waste energy without realizing it. Long conversations that go nowhere. Questions. Arguments that don't change anything. Worrying about opinions that won't matter in 5 years. Carrying emotional baggage that was never ours to begin with. Questions. All of this silently consumes energy. The same energy you could have used to build your future. Look at how children live. They may have little control over time, but their energy is pure. Questions. They laugh fully, cry fully, and move on. Adults, on the other hand, carry unfinished emotions everywhere. A bad morning affects the whole day. A small comment ruins the mood. Questions. Energy leaks happen constantly. One of the biggest energy drains is trying to please everyone. You say yes when you want to say no. Questions. You explain yourself to people who have already decided not to understand. You keep adjusting, compromising, and stretching yourself thin. Slowly, your inner battery weakens. You still show up, questions, but without presence. You are there physically but not energetically. Notice how you feel after meeting different people. Some conversations leave you lighter. Some leave you heavier. Questions. The time spent may be the same, but the energy impact is completely different. That's why energy is more valuable than time. Time passes anyway. Questions. Energy decides whether that time builds you or breaks you. Even success depends more on energy than effort. You can force yourself to work, but forced effort without energy leads to frustration. Questions. Inspired effort with aligned energy leads to flow. That's when work feels meaningful and progress feels natural. In daily routines, energy management is often ignored. We focus on schedules, questions, to-do lists and deadlines, but forget to protect the mind. Constant notifications, comparison on social media, negative news, and unnecessary debates quietly exhaust us. By the end of the day, questions, we blame ourselves for being lazy, when in reality, we are just emotionally overused. Energy also affects how you treat others. When energy is low, patience reduces. Small things irritate you. Questions, you speak sharply, react quickly, and regret later. When energy is high, you listen better, respond calmly, and act wisely. Same person, different energy. Questions. This is why learning to step back is not weakness, it's wisdom. Taking breaks is not wasting time, it's refueling energy. Protecting your mental peace is not selfish, it's necessary. Questions. Because once your energy is gone, no amount of time can compensate for it. There is also a deeper truth. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. If your attention is constantly on fear, questions, comparison, and negativity, your energy will follow it there. If your attention is on growth, learning, and purpose, your energy slowly aligns with strength. Questions. High quality energy comes from simple things: good sleep, honest conversations, meaningful work, silence, gratitude, and boundaries. Low quality energy comes from chaos, overthinking, questions, toxic interactions, and living against your values. You don't need to cut off the world, you just need to be selective about what you engage with. Every high yes costs energy. Questions. Every unnecessary reaction costs energy. Every time you carry someone else's emotional burden without choice, it costs energy. When you start valuing energy more than time, life changes subtly. Questions, you stop rushing, you stop proving, you stop forcing, you begin choosing. And with those choices, your days feel fuller, even if they are quieter. Remember this deeply. Questions. Time will pass whether you protect yourself or not. But energy, once drained repeatedly, takes time to heal. Guard it, respect it, invest it in people, thoughts, and actions that give something back. Questions. Because a life lived with strong energy doesn't just look successful, it feels alive. Questions. Compassion is one of the most beautiful human qualities. It makes us kind, understanding, and emotionally rich. But when compassion exists without boundaries, questions, it slowly turns into a silent form of self-harm. Many people don't suffer because they are cruel. They suffer because they are too available, too understanding. Questions. Too willing to carry what is not theirs. In daily life, this looks very normal. You listen when someone wants to talk. You help when someone is in trouble. You adjust when someone is uncomfortable. Questions. At first it feels right, it feels human. But over time, if there are no limits, something begins to shift. You start feeling tired without knowing why. You feel emotionally heavy, even on good days. Questions. Your own needs slowly move to the bottom of the list. Think of a friend who is always in crisis. Every week, there is a new problem, a new complaint, a new emotional breakdown. You listen patiently. Questions. Give advice, stay available. But notice one thing: do they change? Or do they come back with the same story, the same patterns, the same wounds? Questions. Compassion becomes dangerous when it enables stagnation instead of growth. True compassion helps people stand on their feet. Boundary-less compassion allows them to lean on you forever. And slowly, questions. Without realizing it, you become emotionally responsible for someone else's life. That weight is not sustainable. Many people confuse compassion with obligation. They think, if I don't help, questions, I'm a bad person. But helping at the cost of your peace doesn't make you noble, it makes you exhausted. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and yet many people keep trying until they burn out. Questions. In families, this shows up when one person becomes the emotional dumping ground. Everyone shares their stress, anger, and problems with them. But no one asks how they are doing. They smile, questions. They manage, they stay strong. Over time, that strength turns into silence, and that silence turns into loneliness. At worst, compassion without boundaries looks like taking extra responsibilities because you don't want to disappoint, covering for others, saying yes to every request. Slowly, people stop appreciating and start expecting. What was once kindness becomes invisible labor. The most dangerous part, you stop respecting your own limits. You ignore fatigue. You suppress irritation. You justify emotional discomfort by telling yourself, they need me more than I need myself. This belief is noble, but deeply flawed. You matter too. Healthy compassion includes honesty. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is say no. Sometimes support means stepping back and letting someone face the consequences of their choices. Growth requires discomfort. When you remove all discomfort in the name of compassion, you also remove growth. There is a difference between empathy and absorption. Empathy understands pain. Absorption carries questions. You are meant to understand others, not become their emotional storage unit. When you absorb too much, your own clarity gets clouded. Decisions become harder. Joy becomes rarer. People who misuse your compassion are not always manipulative. Many are simply used to being rescued. They have learned that someone else will always step in. When you set boundaries, they may react emotionally. They may say you've changed. But often, what has really changed is, you have started choosing yourself. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors with locks. You decide when to open them and for whom. Boundaries allow compassion to be sustainable. They ensure that your kindness comes from abundance, not exhaustion. In daily interactions, notice this. When you are rested and emotionally balanced, your compassion feels light and genuine. When you are drained, your compassion feels heavy and forced. That's your inner signal asking for balance. Compassion without boundaries also attracts the wrong kind of people. Those who take more than they give. But compassion with boundaries attracts respect. People may not like your limits, but they will understand your strength. You don't need to explain your boundaries to everyone. You don't need to justify your need for space. Protecting your mental and emotional health is not selfish, it is responsible. The world does not need more burnt out, kind people. It needs emotionally healthy ones. People who help without losing themselves. People who give without disappearing. So remember this deeply, compassion should connect you to others, not disconnect you from yourself. When kindness is guided by clarity, it becomes powerful. When kindness is guided by guilt, it becomes dangerous. Choose compassion, but choose boundaries with it. That balance is not just wisdom, it is survival.